Hey everyone, Eric Corey here. Welcome to my YouTube channel and thank you for watching my first video. Probably coming from Chris and Meg Heckman's print on demand course. It's also in that video and I'm one of the coaches at WeScale University. So thank you so much for hopping over here to watch this. Uh, just a little bit more about me. I've been doing e-commerce for the last 6 years and I've generated roughly $13 million in revenue. I've also spent a couple million, roughly $3 million on Facebook, Pinterest, Google, Snapchat, and TikTok ads. So I have a vast experience when it comes to e-commerce. But today I'm going to be talking about how I generated $94,514 on Etsy in 2024. And it was a crazy journey. It really started with $80 and it turned into almost 100 grand in sales. The way this store started was back in October of 2023. I ended a business with an old business partner and wasn't working on a business and was looking for an easier way for me to hop back in e-commerce. I was feeling a little burnout, needed a change of direction. I always liked Etsy. I found a ton of inspiration on Etsy for selling products in the past. Wanted to become more involved with Etsy, and that was my plan at the time. I really like Etsy because it's great for beginners to get their feet wet in e-commerce, but it could be anywhere from you're generating a couple extra $100 a month profit for yourself to thousands and it being a viable business option for you. I think they make it pretty easy to hop right into the back end of Etsy and launch your store. So I appreciate Etsy for that. I think there is some downfalls to Etsy, which I'll discuss later in this video, but I just want to talk about my journey right now of how I generated this much revenue in 2024 and some of the plans and some of the pit stops and also some of the failures I had along the way. So, like I said, it started with $80, and I've been selling digital goods on Etsy for the last year. It really started with me looking for new products to sell on Etsy. I had no idea what I wanted to sell. So I went one of my favorite tools for e-commerce of all time. There'll be a link down below. It's an affiliate link, just so you know. If you don't want to use the affiliate link, just go to everbee.io and sign up yourself. But yeah, I love Everbee, and what Everbee is that it's a product to help you find products on Etsy that are doing extremely well. It lets you see the product sales volume, the number of units sold, what rank it is on Etsy, and things like that to kind of get the back end data from Etsy to see what products are doing well in specific niches so you can figure out for yourself, hey, what niche should I sell into and more specifically what products should I be selling. Like I said, great tool. I've been using it since it started, I think back in 2019, and just running through it really quickly, finding trending products on Etsy, Etsy keyword research, which is massive. I'll go more into that later, and how you're going to pair that up with your products so that you get some organic traffic to your products. It has email marketing built in as well. Like I said, it's an amazing tool. I highly suggest it. Even if you're not planning on selling on Etsy, but if you're planning on selling products on Shopify instead, it still gives you a good idea of the traffic that's going to be potentially coming to your store because Etsy's driving all this traffic themselves through organic and they run paid ads for themselves as well. So might as well scoop up some of that free traffic. Or if you're looking for an extension on your Shopify store where you already have Shopify, but you're looking to generate some more passive income. Again, like I said, I highly recommend Etsy. It's a great source and great tool to generate some more revenue. So going back into my Etsy and how I found that niche that I was searching in was through Everbee, and I do a nice overview on how to use Everbee. Chris's print on demand tutorial video in the 22-hour plus. It might be even longer than that. I'm making this video before it launches, so you can go into the thumbnails of that video and check out my demo on Everbee. I'm not going to do that here. But basically, just to cut it short, I went on Everbee and was researching niches and looking up popular keywords on Etsy, discovered the digital product I wanted to sell, found suppliers for that product to make it for me because I didn't have the skills or capabilities to make it myself, and then launched the store. And as you can see, pretty much immediately started doing revenue. We came out of the blocks hot. I was doing roughly 10 grand from the very beginning. And I knew the product would do extremely well because I had done my research prior and it was an extremely popular niche on Etsy. You can see we did extremely well all the way through until about August, and my listing got banned. And that was a serious pitfall. And it was the combination of multiple things. Say the first thing and the biggest mistake I made was not being extremely proactive on my customer service. It's definitely something you want to keep up with when you're selling on Etsy. I had gotten pretty lazy with my customer service, and I was responding 2 or 3 days later instead of within 24 hours. So that's definitely a key takeaway for me and something that I learned on selling through Etsy last year. I also had a listing go down. I had some competitors in my niche that weren't happy with my listings because as you can tell, I was doing extremely well. I was kind of dominating the niche. So I kind of got attacked, and my main and best-selling listing went down. And it took me 2 months to get it back. I didn't get it back till the end of October. It went down in the beginning of August. But as you can see, I was doing extremely well with a slight downtrend going into the summer. But it makes sense for the niche that I sell into. It's more of a winter niche style. But this really hurt my sales and hurt my overall trajectory. Not taking care of the what I would say is tedious tasks side Etsy that you need to do cost me, you know, I'd say at least 20 to 25 grand in 2024. So we're looking at roughly 125K revenue instead of 94K revenue. And that sucks. And if you're watching this and you're starting to do well on Etsy, or you plan on selling on Etsy, make sure you take care of your customer service and always answer the questions within 24 hours. It'll save you in the long run. Um, and another important takeaway is to make sure that your review rating is a 4.8 or higher. That's something that luckily I did and took care of because I made sure my products were excellent as I sold them and the customer was taken care of. It was just the response rate that was an issue for me, and it hurts your overall Etsy account. I saw my, visits drop dramatically, uh, you know, for, in August and September and especially October because Etsy will hide the visibility of your listing if you're not responding to your customers. So make sure you respond to them within that 24-hour window to keep your rating high. Um, as you can see here, it finally got fixed back in November. Now, it's not as high as these months were, and I'm going to go into why these months were so much higher. It recovered pretty well, right? It went up, it doubled from October to November. December was a little down, but I'm looking in January right now, and it's on track for a very good month. So these are some important things with Etsy to keep in mind. For these months where I was generating a lot of visits actually came down to Pinterest advertising. Again, my niche does extremely well on Pinterest, and I was looking for a way to drive cheap traffic to my listings to increase their rank instead of spending money on Etsy ads. I'm not a fan of Etsy ads. I don't think they perform that well when you're selling products that are pretty cheap. And I sell a digital product that's pretty cheap. If you're selling a more expensive item in the 50, I'd say 30 to $100 plus range, you'll probably perform pretty well on Etsy with their Etsy ads. But for products that are cheaper, don't really take account for that. It's just cost per click. And in Etsy's algorithm, you're just going to pay for that cost per click. And that's that. And I don't personally recommend it for cheap digital products. If you're selling a digital product that's $25, $30 or more, you could probably have some success. But I needed cheap traffic to basically take my listings and pump them into overdrive for views and have them increase their ranking in my niche. And I turned to Pinterest. Pinterest traffic is extremely cheap, especially if you're running consideration campaigns. It's probably the cheapest traffic you're ever going to get. I think I was paying anywhere from 1 to 2 cents per click on my Pinterest ads, and they're getting sent directly to my Etsy store. Again, this isn't the perfect strategy because unfortunately Etsy doesn't have a pixel, so you can't track any of that data. I could only see the front end on Pinterest and couldn't see any of the back end data like sales or anything like that from Etsy. But I didn't really care about that because the whole goal of that was to drive up my listing for organic purchases through Etsy. And that was the whole goal of that. I spent probably 15 grand doing that in the beginning, and I did that from January to May, and then I turned it off, and my listings were pretty much at the top of my niche for the keywords that I was looking for, and I just let it ride on that, and it recouped all that money just in a couple months. So it was a longer term investment. I saw those results after I turned it off and knew my listings were in prime position to keep generating revenue. At one point, my Etsy store was generating $500 to $600 a day in revenue. And I wasn't paying anything in ads, so it was all organic. So Etsy takes a 16.5% fee, and I was making 83.5% profit on my listings. So if you do 600 times 80%, I was making $480 a day on my store, which was great. I can't complain about an extra 10 to 12K a month profit. Again, there is additional costs in there. I was paying my suppliers to make new products for me, along with some other things because I have a couple employees as well. So, but I was bringing in, pretty good money for what Etsy was doing. And Etsy was not my long-term plan with this store. I wanted to use Etsy as a slingshot to then bring my products to Shopify and start my own Shopify store. For longevity of this store and what I want to do with it in 2025 is generate a lot more digital products in my niche. I think I was pretty conservative last year. I only made, I think, 50 to 60 different digital products. This year, I want to blow it out of the water, especially since my Shopify store is now running. I want to be generating tons and tons of digital products. I've been planning to do that since September of last year. And the planning is almost complete, and I will be launching a ton of new products, and that will help me scale higher on Etsy in 2025. And the behind the scenes when it comes to Etsy is pretty low maintenance once you create your store. The setup takes a little bit longer because you're going to have to go through and create your listings and optimize your listings. And I would do every single thing that Etsy tells you to do when creating your listings. Like, you should have 10 images for your listings. You should use all 13 tags for your listings because those help your products get found on Etsy. I wouldn't cheat out on any of that stuff. All that stuff is super important. I would write a nice comprehensive description for your products and stuff keywords in there as well. Any place that Etsy's letting you add information to your listing, you should be taking full advantage of that if you're going to be creating an Etsy store, because all of those things pull into Etsy's algorithm and will help get your products found on their website and their platform. If you're struggling right now and you have an Etsy shop and you're not getting a lot of sales, I would take a look at your listings and see what you can do with your keywords, your title, your photos, and really improve on your listings. Every single listing, I make sure that, like I said, there's 10 photos, there's 140 character title, there's 13 tags that are optimized for my product and for my niche. So you can also do that in Everbee. You can research keywords that work extremely well and are popular on Etsy that get a lot of sales. So I would go through and do all of those things. But as of now, to the initial setup, which took some time, I'd probably say it took 40 to 50 hours, which in the grand scheme of things isn't a ton of time. But as for weekly maintenance, I work on my Etsy store probably less than an hour a week at this point, and it's still generating me roughly, in the bad months, it was generating me 5K a month revenue, probably 4K a month profit. And like I said, I'm not doing anything. It's just basically running on its own. I log in once a day for 5 to 10 minutes and answer customer service questions that I've already have built in answers to, because people are all asking the same questions. So I respond to them, and that's pretty much it. Besides launching new listings, like I said, in 2025, I'm going to be launching a lot of listings. So my hours inside Etsy will probably increase. But yeah, like, once the store is up, there's really not a lot to do. So, I see Etsy as a very low hanging fruit opportunity for anyone to make more money. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed my first video. I hope you got some value out of this, and have a great day.